Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. This is Sterling R. Jackson. I want to talk today about finding your unique voice and all the parts and mechanisms and all those kinds of things that go together with finding that. So join me and we'll talk about it. All right, so now this is just kind of off the cuff advice about my story and experience, and about, I've been teaching people now for about 10 years how to sing, and just about all the trials and tribulations and things and mechanisms and parts of musculature and all these different things it takes to kind of find your voice. So it may come across relatively simple at first, but I say that because I know most people just, especially Americans like myself, we want to get good now, we want to get better now, we want to improve now, we want to have a great voice now, and there's so many different confusing parts of all this stuff. So I'm going to try to break some of these things down for you. On top of that, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me now about lessons, private lessons, things like that. First of all, if you're near Sarasota, I'm happy to teach you in person. You can just hit me up, sterlingravijackson@gmail.com. But if you want to know about pricing and things like that, I also teach online. You can reach me there. And also I do vocal critiques. So if you're somebody that can't afford lessons, but you really want to get some advice on, if you're good or not, or if you're doing well, or if you have problem areas, things like that, you can send me videos. And I will critique those and send you a video back. You can find information about that on my website, sterlingrjackson.com. Sorry, I had to get that out of the way. So we're talking about finding your unique voice. And I mentioned about how people want to, escalate and take things to the next level really fast, and they want to get better really fast. And of course, when it comes to something like this, there's a lot of different things at play, and there's a lot of different parts of finding your voice. But some of the most important parts of finding your voice are the parts, once again, that people don't necessarily want to hear, which is building a foundation. And what is your foundation based upon? Most people's foundation when it comes to singing is based upon an emotional connection, a desire to want to be good, or to want to be famous, or to want to be, I want to sound like this person, I want to sound like that person. Do I sound? It's so interwoven and interconnected to emotional vulnerability, so many different things. So their foundation really isn't built upon practice, upon building any kind of foundation. It's based upon, like, am I good, and should I do this? And there's a lot of people that spend decades and they don't really sing in front of anybody because they just have that quiet fear, and they're like, I don't know if I'm good enough. Oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be good enough. And I understand that. I was somebody that wanted to be a singer from the age of 7, and I didn't sing in front of anybody until I was about 14, and it was out of necessity. I was in this band in high school, and I was a drummer, and then we had these people, and we couldn't find a singer, so we knew the bass player couldn't sing because we would get on his shit all the time. So then I tried to sing, and I had that aha moment where everybody kind of looked at me like, oh, you can sing. And I was like, can I? And, I guess I knew I had a little bit of ability, and some people know a lot of times if they have a little bit of ability or not, but it's very hard to tell. You hear your voice back in a recording and stuff, and it's the same as hearing your voice anywhere. You're like, that's what I sound like. It's very difficult. So anyway, I say that because I want you to know going into this that obviously there's going to be a lot of pieces that are connected. There's going to be a lot of emotional, vulnerable, different things. And this isn't a matter necessarily of singing in front of people, karaoke, getting half drunk and being like, do you guys think I'm good? Do you guys think I could make it? Get all that stuff out of your mind and think about this as like learning any instrument. I've had so many people throughout the years see my technical ability with writing or composing or playing an instrument, and then they just pass it off as, oh, you're just really talented, or you're really good. And that devalues every, the 10,000 hour principle. I play multiple instruments. The ridiculous obsession and compulsions that go into being drawn to play an instrument every day and practice it and learn scales. And it just, anyway, think about it like an instrument and treat yourself like that, with a gentleness and with this excitement of learning how to utilize that instrument. And therein lies all those different pieces and stuff. So I start this, or try to preface it with all that emotional shit, right? So now, when it comes to building a foundation or finding your unique voice, mimicry can help you in different ways. Trying to sing like your favorite singers and stuff like that can definitely help you in certain ways. The ways that it can help you is that it might allow you to find different parts of your musculature. It might help you find different parts of tonality and resonance of where your voice wants to be, as opposed to, if I sing like this person, my voice doesn't like that as much, or my voice hurts when I do this, blah, blah, blah. It can help, but it can also hinder you as well. At some point, you need to, even in terms of scales and simplicity, in the most base foundation type of way, continuously do things that are completely unscathed, open, relaxed, so that your instrument is doing as much of what it wants to do naturally as it can, which is to say you're getting out of the way. You need to get out of the way. Does that mean you need to sing scales every day? It depends. Everybody's different, but one of the most important, simple things that you need to learn how to do is go from speaking to singing, and learning how to turn that on like a switch. I've talked about this in plenty of other videos, and it does get confusing to some people, but what you're hearing me do right now is speak and utilize this musculature right here in my neck. I am pushing my voice out of my head with these muscles right here. As you practice these things, or you practice these methods and these scales and these resonance and learning and all these things, you're going to start to be able to pick up on hearing these things in other people's voices as much as you can start to hear them in yourself. So if I speak and sing or speak on pitch, ma 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 ma, that is basically the equivalent of speaking on pitch. A lot of people do this. I have over half the students I've taught throughout the years come to me and they do what I would refer to as speak singing, where they have no foundation that's built upon breathing correctly, diaphragmatic support, placement, anything. They're just kind of speaking their way through something using a lot of this musculature. And, then they're wondering if they sound good, and then all the emotional stuff comes in. Like, should I do this for a living? Can I make it? Am I going to be famous? Can I make millions of dollars? Jesus. So singing does not really involve this musculature. The more it tends to rely on this musculature, sorry to keep using that word, these muscles in here in the neck, the more it kind of gets away from the natural feeling of singing in the first place. So I have other videos on diaphragmatic support, breathing correctly, and things like that, placement. Those are the foundations of singing. I'll go over them very fast. Essentially, we're breathing from the diaphragm. The more that we breathe up here in the upper chest and all these things in the shoulders, the more we're starting to build tension and starting to cut off our natural ability to open up, relax, and sing. So we're trying to train ourselves repeatedly every single day, however you can do it. Exercise is a great way to do this, especially if you're a runner or somebody that walks. Keep training yourself to breathe correctly from down here. So we're breathing only down here, fat gut kind of thing all the way. God knows we don't need to get into that. People being worried, like, I think I'm going to look fat. Then don't sing. Anyway, we got to build some kind of foundation, so get out of your head. So we're first understanding that we need to breathe down here. If we're not breathing into the diaphragm from down here, then we cannot properly execute a diaphragmatic push down and utilize any kind of foundation of singing, because we're not basically putting gas into the gas tank that is the machine driving the voice. That makes sense? A lot of fun words in there. So if you watch me do this, you'll see that there's no shoulder movement or anything like that up here. And if it takes weeks to do this, if it takes months, it doesn't matter, as long as you become perceptive of what's happening in your body and become conscious of it. So we're breathing down here, first of all. We need that air down here, so then we can engage the core, learn how to engage the core, so that pushes the voice out from down here. Hey. Instead of up here, it pushes from down here. Now we can trace that line and push from the whole way down here if we want, but the important thing is that we're filling up a balloon essentially, and then we're learning how to rest on that balloon so that our voice is being pushed out, and all that tension and all that pressure and everything is pushing the voice out from the diaphragm, from this musculature down here. That's number one, or number two actually. Second one is placement. This is where we really get into finding your voice. Your voice when you speak, or more importantly, when you sing a note. If we pick a note like this, if I am doing literally nothing other than making that sound, and the vowel that I'm singing, in this case it's just ah, I want to see where my voice is placing itself in my mouth. Meaning, where is it vibrating in the mouth? Meaning, if my voice is here, which it is laser pointering that resonance, that sound is hitting somewhere in the mouth. For most people, it naturally kind of probably wants to fall in the middle of the hard palate up here. Sometimes some people maybe a little bit further back. Sometimes people maybe a little bit farther forward. Either way, that is one of the most natural ways that you're going to find what your voice wants to do. When you're singing somebody else's song, when you're singing a bunch of words, when you're putting a lot of consonants and enunciation and things like that, it gets skewed, it falls apart, it gets hard to recognize what your voice naturally wants to do. So once again, if we were to do a simple scale and do nothing else and try to relax, not even necessarily throwing all these things into the mix. There, I've literally just dropped the jaw open, no tension anywhere, nothing else is happening. I'm not coloring the sound, I'm not trying to sound like anybody else, I'm not trying to disguise my voice by sounding like anybody else, and God knows there's plenty of people that want to do that. They want to kind of have like a gritty sound because it sounds like that's all going to hinder you from finding out what your voice actually sounds like. The important thing here, once again, is building some kind of a foundation that you can rely on, that your voice actually wants to do, that it can acclimate to, that you can understand on a physical level, and then you can build those other things. There's another problem that we run into here with a lot of females mostly, where they think that their voice is some kind of a breathy, singy, Disney-esque quality. So I have many students come to me, ma, 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 ooh. And in that case, once again, that's not what your voice naturally wants to do. This is what your voice naturally wants to do. And then we're adding some things underneath and some fundamentals. But if you talk like this all the time and your chords are broken apart, not only will you be losing your voice, but people will probably be wondering what the hell you're doing. It's like Marilyn Monroe, like, "Hi, Mr. President." Nobody talks like that. That's weird. Don't do that. The same thing goes for singing. If you are perpetuating some kind of a coordination, some kind of coordination where your vocal cords are split apart like that and you're kind of stuck in this falsetto range, that has nothing to do with singing. That is a stylistic choice. You will always remember how to do that stylistic thing. Do not worry about it. But for now, build a foundation that makes sense based on these simplistic things like we're doing right here. Now, remembering the most important thing here too is singing is vowels. What does that mean? That means that singing is the elongating of a word, or the elongation of vowels, and everything else gets in the way. I've done this before, but if we sing the word great, if I enunciate and speak, kind of sing that word, great, that was great, great, everything sounds pretty bad. But if I were to sing that correctly, great, 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 all those the enunciation, all that kind of stuff gets out of the way, and what we're left with is the vowel. That is the thing that makes it the most singy. That's the thing that makes it sound nice, is the elongation of the vowel. So anything else that you're doing, clamping down, saying R's and T's harshly or anything like that, or think about Blink-182 or something like California accents. The over-enunciation, all the small things, is something that cuts off the singing quality. Think about it like this. If we were to slow that down, not that everybody knows Blink-182, but it's just a decent example. All the small things sounds kind of ridiculous. And it's not very singy. If we wanted to make that singy, we would get rid of the enunciation. All the small things. There's a nice singy version of that. Now, once again, I don't have to sing like that all the time, but we're talking about finding your unique voice, which means finding out what your muscles want to do, what your voice wants to do. Make sense? I'm going to continue this lesson over to Patreon, where I extend a lot of these lessons. If you want to join me there, I'm happy to keep talking about this stuff. But keep sticking with these things. Take time. The last things I'll say here is that as you continue to find out what your voice naturally wants to do, You will get better at, pushing it into different directions, but also finding a pocket or a golden range or a golden tonality. Not everybody's is the same. If you think that you have a lower voice and that your voice wants to be lower, that doesn't matter. There's people like one of my favorite bands, Sigur Rós, where he's got a little bit of a higher voice, but then he loves to sing in falsetto and head voice because he always thought it was easier and he sounded better. So they wrote a whole bunch of beautiful music, and that's the way he sings. Everybody's different. I have a guitarist friend who's in one of my bands, Vegas Nerve, has a voice that sounds almost exactly like me when he's speaking, which would basically make him a baritone in most cases, but he can sing almost a high C in his chest voice. I can't even get close to that. And he feels better sometimes when he's singing higher. It never really makes sense sometimes, but the point is that keep doing unscathed, simple exercises with your vowels. Stuff like this. Vowel exercises are some of the best you can do. A, E, I, O, U. And see what your muscles want to do, what your voice wants to do, and build things from there. Then start to find your stylistic choices after that. If you're in a field of country music, know that there's a bunch of tension that you can have there that you don't need to have there right out of the gate. Build a foundation, then bring back in the country. Bring back in that country. I hope this made some help. I hope this helped some people. I hope it made some sense. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, if you want to do lessons with me or something like that, hit me up. Happy to do that as well. Thanks.